Hello. This is a quick video on the divergence trading that I'm currently doing, and what we're looking at here is a euro dollar 4-hour chart. Okay, so let me open this up a little bit. All right, so I also use a stochastic alert indicator. This is just called stochastic divergence, and it's set to 833. And so it'll mark lines on the chart, like this one up here. I don't know, it's pretty light, but you might be able to see it. Let me make it a little bit bigger here so it's easier to see. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so this is the line that is drawn by the stochastic alert indicator, which is down here, and this is the same line. Let me mark this out a little better. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I also have an 1133 standard stochastic on here that I use for kind of confirmation, because this divergence indicator will kind of draw some screwy lines sometimes that don't really make much sense. Anyways, so I'm using a line indicator because I prefer to use close prices. So the close prices on here are still divergence, and that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so here is the what I do first when I see it and I verify it that I do like it as divergence. I draw my own trend line, and from this point I do a price projection. Okay, and the price projection will normally go from the trend line itself to the lowest point, or if it was if this was anything other than regular divergence, it might go to the upper point. You know, like over here, if this were divergence, then I would start up here. But anyways, this is bearish divergence, standard bearish divergence. So what I do is I measure from the lowest point right here directly up to the trend line, which is about 57 pips, 56, and this becomes my target. Okay, so now that I have my target, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to a smaller time frame to look for the best entry. Now on a 4-hour chart, here's the way I would do it. I'm using 2 points from at least one of them needs to be below my trend line, so that this one here qualifies. This is not much of a point, but just something to draw the line on like you would a normal trend line. And I draw this line to touch 2 points of the closing prices and go through the price. And once price shows a closing candle below this line, that would be my entry. I'll show you that in more depth in a moment. But now, this doesn't give a very good entry much of the time. Some of the times, yes. So what I'll do is I'll go down to the next lower time frame. In this case would be a 1 hour, since we're on a 4-hour chart. And here you can see that here's my trend line, and this arrow marks the 12 o'clock candle on the 4-hour bar. So I can't get an entry in any before after the 1600 candle, which is right here, because the divergence is not confirmed until a close of the candle following where the actual divergence shows up. So at 1600, which is right here, I can start looking for a trend line to draw through this point in order to get an entry price. So in this case, on the 1 hour, the trend line, I would draw it from this point down here, which is confined in the time of the trend line, of the divergence line, up through the point right here. So that gives me once again a more typical trend line as far as the way you would normally draw a trend line, although I do use closing prices. And price goes through right here. And at this time, this is 1900. I just needed to find an entry price after 1600 over here. And right now this shows to be the best one. Now, I also am not opposed to going down through even lower. So let's go. The next one down would be a 30-minute chart. Okay, and on this 30-minute chart, the trend line would basically be about the same as it was on the 1 hour. Maybe slightly higher, maybe up here just a little bit. So let's go ahead and draw this other trend line, which kind of follows the same basic route, and actually it ends up being about the same. So I'm not going to draw this one. Okay, so now I would probably go to the 15-minute, and once I'm down here, look for that trend line to maybe give me a better entry point. Okay, in this case, I need to start with a point that follows, that is underneath my existing divergence line. So that would be this one right here. This one right here is afterwards, so I can't use this. And as it turns out, the trend line here would actually be roughly the same as it would be on the 30-minute, and not an improvement. As you can see, it crosses through right up here, whereas on the 1 hour, it crosses through here. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll go back to the 1 hour. Okay, yeah, sorry, the 1 hour. There we go. Go back to the 1 hour, and look for an entry here using candles now. What I'm looking for is a candle to close below this trend line, this price trend line. Okay, so now I'm going to open the 1 hour candles, and this candle right here not only closes below the trend line, but it opens below the trend line. Okay, so my entry would go actually on the open of this candle, which the difference isn't much. It's like 3 pips. But you see, I'm looking for the best entry to make these 50-some pips, and yet still to hold my stop loss to less than 50. And in this case, starting with the 4 hour, I might use a maximum of, I don't know, it might be 20 to 30 pips. I don't know. I mean, of course, this is after the fact, so you can see that there's no problem. From the entry here, we're looking for about 56, and it goes down 78. So, but I typically don't even use the full amount for take profit. In fact, I might have just gotten out right here at 41 pips after this big long candle down, or I might have split the trade and let a portion of it continue on down. And that's pretty much this style in a nutshell. have any questions, just put them in the comments down below, and I will see if I can answer them. Thanks. Bye.